Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Think losing your money with a bank in Silicon Valley is scary stuff? Well, just wait till you see how scary it is to take a leap of faith when it comes to protecting your 401k in retirement.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the Worry-Free Retirement, with your host, nationally recognized retirement specialist and six-time author and fiduciary, Tony Walker.
Not since the closing of the Frigid Whip in downtown Drakesboro, Kentucky, have so many Americans lost faith in the American system we call capitalism. That is, until the recent announcing of the closing of the 16th largest bank in America, Silicon Valley Bank, or now infamously known as SVB. You see, up until its closing on Friday, March 12, 2023, SVB was like any other bank, assumed to be in great financial shape and ready and willing to faithfully serve the needs of its depositors forever. That is, and until it was learned that those in charge of billions of dollars on deposit at SVB, well, shall we say, didn't have all the depositors' money to give it back.
Just remember that this thing isn't as black as it appeared.
So how did this happen, and does the closing of the 16th largest bank in the U.S. have anything to do with the faith and confidence you now have in whoever is managing your 401k plan? Well, let's find out as we introduce a brand new theme to our show today called the 401k Leap of Faith. Well, welcome, folks, to the Worry-Free Retirement, and yes, I am that little man in the sweater vest, retirement planning specialist and fiduciary, Tony Walker, and today we're going to check your faith at the door to see where and how you can be assured that the money you have saved for retirement will actually be there in the future. But before we jump into the subject at hand, let me introduce to you America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Orender. Good morning, Aaron, on this March 21st, 2023. How are you doing, partner?
Good morning, sir. I am doing just fine. Hello, audience.
And it's good to have you with us. There's Derek Hudson, Louisville, Kentucky's most laid-back graphics artist. He's over there feverishly working on the show. Incidentally, folks, I know a lot of you listen to the radio show. We're on many stations throughout the state of Kentucky, but also don't forget about the television show, which is a little different feel than this show. It's called the Worry-Free Retirement, just like the radio show, and we're on many stations throughout the state of Kentucky. If you want to find out where we're located, just go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, and you can find all of the listings for our TV, radio stations, and then also the YouTube channel, right, Aaron? That's getting more and more traction.
That's correct, folks. If you just want to go to YouTube.com, type in Tony Walker Financial, you're going to find our page right there.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. All right, let's think about this a minute. There you are. Again, this is a retirement planning show, folks. So there you are wondering what a Frigid Whip closing down in Drakesboro, Kentucky, a bank somewhere in Silicon Valley, and maybe even the concerns you have over your 401k plan have to do with taking this leap of faith. Well, you know, we have received many calls from people who, upon hearing about this SVB bank going under and the concerns that other banks are soon following, it looks like, what are they to do in terms of their concerns about the money invested with Tony Walker Financial? And I would say it this way, folks. While there is nothing, listen, folks, there is nothing that I can say is 100% guaranteed. The assets we have at Tony Walker Invested, both with Charles Schwab, which, by the way, folks, is doing fine. I know people have been a little concerned about Charles Schwab. They're doing fine, other than their stock price as of today is down a little bit. And also all of the money we have with the various insurance companies that possess the annuities you've purchased. Folks, everything on our end is fine. Now, we got to ask ourselves then, okay, wait a minute, Tony. How could a bank, or now banks, several banks, be having all these financial problems? I mean, why are these banks going under? Well, I think first of all, we need to make a distinction between the way banks invest money and the money at, let's say, a brokerage firm like Charles Schwab or insurance companies such as the companies we use. So first of all, here's where it gets really sketchy with banks. Now, again, I'm not saying rush out and take all your money out of banks. I've got several local banks that I have a lot of money in. I'm completely confident in the banks that I have my money in, but we have to be realistic about banks and how they make money on other people's money. First, banks are under a system that no other financial institution is under. Insurance companies are not under this system, nor is the brokerage firm such as a Charles Schwab. And that is something that is tied in with the Federal Reserve called the fractional reserve system. Not going to bore you with all this stuff. If you want to read a great read on this, you can read The Creature from Jekyll Island, which explains the Fed and all this stuff. But basically, here's the problem. Banks can loan up to $9. That's right. They can loan it out, borrowing it from other banks or whatever, on every dollar on deposit. So first of all, if there is a run on the bank for the money, as remember the Beverly Hillbillies? Did you ever watch that show, Aaron?
Yeah, I've watched it before.
I've used this before, but remember when Jed Clampett got mad at Drysdale at the bank and he'd run into the bank and he wanted his money? What would Drysdale say?
He's like, I don't have it.
Now, Mr. Clampett, here's a hobby that's worth anybody's time. Collecting money.
Drysdale, if there's one thing I don't need, it's more money.
And Clampett never understood that. But anyway, folks, all that money on deposit is not there at your local bank. That money is loaned out. Now, they've got some money there, but if you make a run on it, you and every other person out there, it's not there. And in SVB's situation, they had so much money in long-term bonds. So when interest rates started going up, nobody realized that bank, whoever was handling those assets, did not get out of those positions. So then it got even worse because when people made a run on the bank, well, I got an idea, Aaron. I'm trying to explain this. Let's do this. Standing by, who studied this matter very closely on SVB, is my favorite nephew, Wes Walker, fellow fiduciary. So I'm going to turn it over to Wes real quick. He's going to lay this out in simple terms. So Wes, tell us exactly what happened at SVB and why they got into trouble when everybody made a run on it.
So basically, this is what happened. Silicon Valley Bank banks for a lot of tech companies and venture capital firms. The venture capital, the tech companies, they put their money with Silicon Valley Bank, and Silicon Valley Bank in turn put that same money into long-term bonds. This was a problem in 2022 because as the Fed raised interest rates, the values of those long-term bonds started to plummet. Eventually, because of these rising interest rates, conditions became harder, and the tech and venture capital firms had to take out some of that money in order to use in their businesses. And when they did, SVB had to sell their long-term bonds at a loss in order to raise cash to give back to the companies that bank with them. This ended up really doing a pretty bad detriment to SVB's banking business. They ended up having to use a lot of their liquidity selling those bonds at losses, and eventually this is what did the bank in.
Great job, Wes.
He's a good kid.
So, Tony, you ask, what does a bank closing and how they manage their long-term bonds have to do with me and my decision on where to take this leap of faith with this 401k plan I've got to do something with? Well, folks, when I come back, I'm going to go over the 3 decisions you have with that 401k. So let me set the stage. Regardless of whether you're already retired and maybe already rolled that 401k over, this is for you. If you're looking towards retirement in the near future, you're going to want to stay tuned. Also, if you have a former 401k, Aaron, we had somebody call in yesterday. They're 47 years of age. They've got a large 401k from a previous employer. They've now moved to a new employer. They can now move that over to us, roll it over to us. So that would be that example. And finally, the 4th example of those that probably need to really listen up is if you are still working, but over the age of 59 and a half, there's a very good possibility you could move that 401k over to somebody like us at Tony Walker Financial and really get a good plan in action. So when I return, the 3 options of what you can do to try to safeguard that 401k plan. I'm Tony Walker. You're listening to the Worry-Free Retirement. We'll be right back. Well, with us in the studio is our very own Connie Fortney. And first of all, Connie, thank you so much for driving up from Bowling Green on this kind of rainy Tuesday, February 4th, 2020. And I'm giving that date for an obvious reason. What did you remind me of?
Well, I've been working for you for 16 years as of yesterday.
Gosh, time flies.
It sure does.
And it's evolved from, I offered you, we knew each other, our family knew each other. I wanted somebody to do some light typing and filing on a part-time basis. 16 years later, let's share with the audience how that position has evolved.
Well, definitely. Now I am office manager of the Bowling Green office and then the annuity new business specialist.
And over that time, of course, I've always instilled in us that we're going to provide good services, but also how has the practice evolved? What have you witnessed from a time when for just a period of time, it was just you and I in the office trying to make do with everything? And as we fast forward now to 2020.
Well, we definitely have more staff. You're right. It used to be there for a period of time. It was just you and I. But we have increased our staff with the goal of just really wanting to have great customer service and provide a lot of different retirement game plans for the client and just do our job well.
And in that time, you started off kind of working slowly into what we call the 401k rollovers. I remember we kept getting more and more people were retiring and we were doing those. And since that time, I like to call you our 401k rollover specialist. How many 401ks, this is folks when somebody rolls something over, they're moving their 401k to us. Over the past 16 years, how many 401k rollover calls have you made? Do you have any idea?
Not really, but it would have to be in the hundreds, if not even have topped 1,000. I have no idea, but it's been a lot.
Yeah. And I think, that the intimidation factor, we run into a lot of people, quite frankly, and these people, they're savers. You've met them at our client events and things like that. They've worked hard all their lives. You've seen that 30, 35, 40 years. And then all of a sudden, this magical day comes when they retire. Their life savings is in that 401k. What sense do you get from people when you get on the call with them and you call the 1-800 number with them on the line and you handle everything?
Well, first of all, they're very grateful for that. We do conference calls on all 401k rollovers or 403bs, whatever it be, if it's a rollover call, and we assist in that. And they're very grateful. And I do. I lead them through. I just tell them that, I will explain why we're calling and that at some point they'll want to verify they're on the line with me. But yeah, we definitely just hold their hand through the entire process.
And you mentioned even rollover calls, but it also includes some of the involved paperwork. Pensions, a lot of times involve paperwork. That intimidates the life out of people. Thrift savings accounts, TSPs. So even the paperwork, describe the volumes of paperwork in the financial world and how much that we handhold throughout that process.
Well, right. A lot of times, especially, you mentioned the TSP, the 403B, a lot of different pensions, they do require paperwork that are somewhat intimidating. And we always, if I'm on the phone, I'll go ahead and request that they email the paperwork to me so we can just go ahead and complete that. We mail it out to the client for signature. And so we handhold again and again. That's just a great customer service that we offer.
And then you've been around long enough to watch people retire, to watch them start using and enjoying their money. What has evolved at Tony Walker Financial, and what have I preached time and time again to the staff about service after the sale? How would you address that to folks watching and saying, because I do have people come in sometimes, Connie, and they'll say, well, I rolled my money over a couple of years ago and I haven't even heard from these people. So what can a client expect if they roll over their money to Tony Walker Financial?
Well, you're exactly right. Good customer service comes from the top, and you definitely, it comes straight from you. And we do talk about that in all of our meetings and how to have better customer service. We always return phone calls. Clients we always do what we say. And I think they appreciate that, but it's very important because it is their money. Once you realize that it's their money and you treat clients that way, then good customer service sort of just happens because it's all about them and it's not about us.
So obviously, Connie, you're kind of our new business annuity processor. You've watched us write probably in excess of, are we up close to 400 million? Would you say? We've got to be pretty close.
We're getting close.
Yeah, so we're one of the leading personal producers of annuities in the country. But since 2017, we've introduced this concept of Charles Schwab, which is not annuities, and something I introduced called the split IRA. Maybe speak to that and what you've noticed in terms of the growth of our Charles Schwab platform and the flexibility that it now gives us for people who want annuities but also want some flexibility outside annuities.
Well, of course, you've done annuities for years, Tony, but we recognize that people don't want all their money in annuities, and you would never recommend that they put it there. So you'd introduced a Charles Schwab platform that offers an awful lot of flexibility for the client to use and withdraw their money straight from that account so that they can use and enjoy their money.
Yeah, so somebody's watching this little snippet here of you and I talking, and they're sitting there and they're still saying, but I'm fearful, I'm worried of this whole 401k rollover process. What could you share with them about possibly what could be their major fear and how we can help them overcome it?
Well, over time, I think I've realized one of the major fears is will their money be taxed? What are they actually doing when they do the rollover? And so I take a minute or two just to explain that a rollover is just rolling from one qualified account into another. There are no taxes until they actually start using their money in the future. So we definitely want to help them understand that nothing is taxed at that point.
So you've been doing a lot of rollovers over the years, Connie. Are people surprised that if we go through this rollover process, they get a game plan, they've met with me, that there is no cost whatsoever to roll these 401ks over to Tony Walker Financial?
Yes, sometimes they seem very surprised that they are not actually paying Tony Walker Financial anything. And I quickly explain, that's the good part. The companies that we represent are actually paying Tony and Tony Walker Financial. And so, yes, we're not charging them a thing for our services.
Yeah, and of course, we need to make it clear, once somebody gets into the process, if they have a Charles Schwab platform, we do charge a small fee for that, and that's something we can discuss with them. But obviously, since you handle the annuities primarily, we like commissions. It is funny. People say, well, I don't know if I like commissions. Well, why wouldn't you like commissions? It doesn't come out of your pocket. We explain surrender charges. So, yes, I think people have that ability to kind of have their cake and eat it too, wouldn't you say? If they want some of the Charles Schwab with maybe some growth and liquidity, we charge a small fee. If they want guaranteed mailbox money, we don't charge them anything up front to set that up.
Absolutely. That SWED IRA concept is a wonderful thing.
Well, good. Connie, thank you so much for joining us. I know you got to head on back to Bowling Green. We appreciate you so much being here, and thank you for all your hard work and helping all these savers worry less about money.
Did you know that you can watch the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money anytime you want? The show's called The Worry-Free Retirement. It's hosted by Tony Walker, and it's available on YouTube. All you got to do is go to youtube.com, and right there in the search bar, type in Tony Walker Financial, and you'll see Tony's smiling face. Click on that, and you're going to find all types of video content. Again, that's youtube.com, Tony Walker Financial.
With the uncertainty of the stock market, now may be the best time to consider moving your 401k to safer territory. To talk to me at no cost or obligation, simply log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com.
Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement, folks. I am America's favorite financial sidekick, Aaron Ornder. Just real quick, want to remind you about a couple of things. If you want to listen to past radio shows, go to SoundCloud.com, type in The Worry-Free Retirement. If you want to watch past television shows, go to YouTube.com, type in Tony Walker Financial. And if you want to find us on social media, that's easy to do too. Facebook and Instagram, both just search for The Worry-Free Retirement.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. So folks, if you're just now joining us, we're talking about this idea of taking the leap of faith you're going to have to take with that 401k at some point in your life, all right? So let's kind of set the stage. When it comes to your 401k and what to do with it, to me, the word that best describes what we all have to do and think about with this thing called money, if you don't believe me, just ask all the depositors at this recently failed bank, is take a leap of faith. And that's the key word, is faith. Now, Aaron, we talked about SVB Bank. You may or may not care much about it. This is a retirement planning show. You're relatively younger, on the younger side. Is there anything that you in the financial world and planning for retirement that you maybe are your faith is waning just a little bit?
Well, when it comes to SVB Bank, I think I'd maybe heard of it once, so no, in all honesty, hasn't really affected me. Now, something that does kind of stay on my mind, and I've joked about it before on the show here, is Social Security. I really truly feel like it will not be a thing when it's my turn for it, basically. That's just how I feel.
So your faith in the system, you're going to not even be eligible for 20 years, would probably be 10 being you have a whole lot of faith, 1 being none. Where would you rank on that scale?
With Social Security, I'd say 3.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Okay. And to be quite frank, if I were your age, I really would probably be in that camp. So quite frankly, folks, the reason Social Security is so scary right now, first of all, the trust fund that it's managed by, the trustees have admitted that somewhere 2035, 2036, it fluctuates. But literally, Aaron, that system will not have enough money to pay those who deserve the money.
But I'm still putting into it.
You're still putting into it. And therein lies the problem, folks. The system doesn't work because nobody expected people to live this long. Plus, the workforce, the number of people supporting those who are already retired is starting to gradually dwindle. So when you take 10,000 people, which is the current statistic, turning 65 each and every day, Aaron, they're needing their Social Security. It's like, yeah, it ain't going to last forever. So this is why, folks, not only do you need a retirement planning specialist to help you figure out when to take Social Security, how to keep the taxes down, all those things around Social Security, you certainly better have a retirement planning specialist when you go to roll that 401k plan over. And here's what I'm seeing right now. This is some scary stuff. Because the financial world knows that all these people are retiring, they know you've got most of your life savings in these 401ks. There is a huge amount of money that we in the financial world, me included, are going to be able to make on your money. So let that sit there for a minute. If you were in the financial world and you're looking for dollars to invest so you can earn a living, why in the world wouldn't you just go after 401ks? Aaron, wouldn't that be logical?
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, and the problem is all you need is an insurance license, not actually legally. There's some problems with insurance agents selling annuities. Let me cover that real quick before I get into the meat of this. Aaron, did you realize, I'm a fiduciary. I'm registered as a securities advisor, registered investment advisor. It's actually against the law, but nobody ever calls them on this. Did you realize if an advisor, were to recommend that you roll over your 401k to an annuity, See, to sell an annuity, all you need is an insurance license. You don't have to be a registered investment advisor.
And you can get that in 2 months?
6 weeks. Yeah, I could train Derek to do it. I mean, it's not, even Derek could get it.
I'm not your ordinary everyday fool, okay?
He's laughing. But basically, here's where they're, in my view, and if you talk to the regulators, they would say they're breaking the law. If that advisor, who's an insurance agent who's not registered with either the Department of Financial Institutions or the SEC, which we are, and they move you from an investment to an annuity, they technically are giving investment advice. They're breaking the law. They're violating the regulations.
Okay.
So think about that, folks. You are moving money over to somebody who is not required by law to work in your best interest if they're not a fiduciary. I'll get off that kick, but it amazes me, Aaron, that people will trust other people who are not fiduciaries when you can work with a fiduciary. Right? Yeah. It's not like you don't have a choice. So we are fiduciaries, would be happy to help you. Okay. So in the essence of time, as we kind of close out the show here, we got about 6 minutes left, Aaron?
A little bit.
Okay,
yeah.
I got to cover this. All right. So what are your 3 options? So in case you're just joining us, you're got a former 401k somewhere, you're getting ready to retire, you've been retired for years. What are your 3 options with that 401k plan? Well, number 1, you could just leave it there. I described the 47-year-old, and some employers will force you to take it out. Some won't. I've had people leave their employer and just leave it at the 401k custodian. And here's why they do that, Aaron. And actually, I can kind of understand this. Let's say you've been investing your money in a 401k. We'll pick Vanguard, okay? Vanguard is the custodian. They're managing it. You leave your employer. Well, you've been with Vanguard for 20 years. They've never done anything to violate their trust, right?
Right.
You have faith in them. So you're like, well, why would I move it? So people just leave it there. Forget the fact you're not going to get any planning from Vanguard. They're a great family of funds. But just to sit it there, there's no planning. Okay, which you could do that. The next thing you can do is roll that over to an advisor, or now people like Vanguard, Schwab, Fidelity, all the big boys will do this. So let's say in that case, Aaron, you're with the 401k. We'll pick on Vanguard. They've done a great job with the funds, right? Now you've moved, you've changed jobs, you've gotten near retirement, you're already retired, and you go back to Vanguard and you say, I need some help planning for retirement. Well, they're going to tell you they can't do that unless you roll it over to an individual IRA with them. Now, again, all these people will do that. There's nothing wrong with this. But then they're going to have to charge a fee. That makes sense, though, doesn't it, Aaron? I mean, if they're going to take you from no planning advice, well, now they got to provide a different service. They're not going to do that for free.
Yeah, that's understandable. They're working. They want money.
Yeah,
I get it.
okay.
Yeah.
Or you say, well, now, gosh, if I'm going to have to pay a fee all of a sudden, I didn't know I was going to pay a fee for the planning, then maybe you do respond to that latest dinner seminar ad or an internet ad. There's all these clickbait ads that'll grab you, folks. The latest one I saw, it was funny, was saying how to save on capital gains taxes, which I thought, well, I don't know how you do that.
How do you do that?
Yeah, there's only two ways. Well, they got into all this goofy stuff. It was crazy. So what it was, though, once you clicked through it and you saw this stuff, it was nonsensical. Then it said, for help with your retirement, and then you click on and you get an advisor. So it was a clickbait ad to get you to get to an advisor so they could roll over your 401k. That's why they really did it, because the information they gave you was totally useless about capital gains taxes. Anyway, I digress. So you could take your chances, possibly roll it over to an IRA with the current custodian, or go find a complete stranger who probably is not well trained in retirement planning, may not even be a fiduciary. Again, you may go out and just roll it over to an annuity peddler and off you go. Man, good luck with that deal, and not even knowing what you purchased. Remember, too, in annuities, and we sell annuities, by the way, folks, we get pretty good sized commissions up front. So there's a lot of incentive for people to put you in annuities. And when you don't have a game plan, I mean, I don't know why you would buy an annuity without a game plan. But anyway, put you in annuities because they get a big commission and they are not obligated to service that annuity. We probably see at least 2 to 3 people come to us a week and they want us, Aaron, to service an annuity somebody else sold and made a big commission on. You know why? They're not servicing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then they're not under obligation to service the annuity. So that's a concern. Now, the third thing you can do, now this gets really scary, and again, I can kind of see the point. Met a gentleman the other day. He's an engineer by trade, a very sharp man. And actually he's done a really good job of managing his own 401k. So what he did, he went to the custodian, and they'll let you do this. They'll let you just take the 401k, put it in an IRA with them or wherever you want to put it. And then without a fee, because you're not going to have an advisor, you be your own advisor.
Okay.
Now, as far as picking funds, that's okay. But think about all the issues, folks, that you're going to need help with. Even if you're a sharp individual and you're handling those investments, which again is no problem. I've seen some people do an excellent job picking their own funds and handling their own investments. Plus, they don't have any fees. So I can't blame them. But then all of a sudden, here's some things that come up because these people have met with me. Tony, here's what I'm worried about. I'm worried if I die first, my spouse knows nothing about this money. And if the spouse is sitting there, yeah, she's nodding like, yeah, that's right. I'm worried sick. If he goes first, I know nothing about this. So that's a concern. The second thing they'll say is, Tony, I'm not quite at Social Security age. I really don't understand the taxes on Social Security. I'm not sure when to take money out of this tax-infested IRA. I don't know what to do on that. Okay, that's a concern. RMDs. Now the age is age 73, required minimum distribution. Person might be going, I have no clue how to plan around that. So folks, there's all these issues that are going to come up when you retire, and it's just not a matter of taking the leap of faith and rolling the 401k over to somebody. Where it really gets dicey is in the future as you move through retirement, which is what we do at Tony Walker Financial. Not only can we help you with the investments, our fee is only 0.8% to do everything, but we can also provide the annuities, Medicare supplements. We do it all, and we understand retirement planning. So that's you right now. If you really don't have a trained retirement specialist, just want to find out what we do at no cost or obligation, why don't you do this right now? Go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Click on that Let's Get Started button. Let's set up our free 10-minute fiduciary phone call with myself. We'll find out how we can help, and if we can, we'll be happy to meet with you in person at either our Bowling Green, Louisville, or Lexington, Kentucky offices. TonyWalkerFinancial.com, or you can just call us at 877-499-9255. That's 877-499-WALK. Well, we hope you've enjoyed today's program. Actually, we're going to come back with this 401k Leap of Faith Part 2. But between now and then, you remember, if all else fails, you be worry-free. Make it a good one.